Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Wide Eye Sports Podcast. You got your boy Brenner on the mic hosting, as always. We have a full crew today. Everybody's back on the show. We got your boy Riley. We got your boy Spoon. And we got Dalton joining us last but not least. Boys, we have a week ahead of us. We have the two best defenses in the NFL this season going at it. And then we have maybe the third best defense for a majority of the season going against a team that at the beginning of the season, none of us had in this scenario. I am certainly surprised they're here, and good for them. With that, every single week here on the show, we do a MVP of the previous week and a biggest loser of the previous week. So we're just going to get right underway with that. I'm going to hit you guys up with my MVP of the week, and I might be stealing it from Spoon. Probably not. He's the only other person that would even imagine would have this. But Baker Mayfield is actually my biggest MVP this week. Wow. That man made himself some money this season. That man is going to get paid this year, and good for him. I mean, the dude went out, balled out, had a great season. They were undervalued at every turn. They were told, they're just the Bucks. Like, it's Baker. Like, they made the second round of the play. They won a playoff game. Like, good for them. And then my biggest. What?
Do you think the Bucks keep Baker then?
Absolutely,
of course
they should. 100%.
I do.
If they don't, they're stupid. I mean, what do you do instead?
I think you sign him to at least a 2-3 year deal here.
Unless Baker's asking for $45 million a year, you give him what he wants.
Which I don't think I think he's just happy to be a starting quarterback right now.
I think they'll probably ask for like 40, and they'll probably meet at like 36 or something like that. But yeah, we'll see. My biggest L of the week was actually a winner. I'm doing it vice versa here, and that's Brock Purdy.
Yep,
Brock Purdy.
I saw that one coming.
Yeah, Brock Purdy's stock shooting down like the Titanic right now, dude. He looked god awful for most of that game. Now they won. But they won because Christian McCaffrey's a fucking goat. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
dude.
Well, also because Jordan Love threw a pick, too.
Well, that, too. I was just giving the credit to McCaffrey for carrying the offense. They didn't win because Purdy. They won because of McCaffrey. They also won because Jordan Love decided to do his best Brett Favre impression and say, fuck it, I'm throwing across my body 25 yards downfield. Because that works out every time.
There was so many times in that game, just because the Packers are in the division. Like, I watched a lot of Aaron Rodgers, and Jordan Love would start to run around, and I'd be like, oh, well, the Niners defense is screwed. Like, he's going to launch it deep, and it was a bunch of incompletions. It was nice to see from a Bears fan.
I definitely think Jordan Love made himself some money as well this season. The Packers are going to pay that man, and I hope they do because – I don't see him being Aaron Rodgers. I don't see him being Brett Favre. He's definitely good, and I could definitely see him as a top 15 quarterback, potentially even a top 10 quarterback. But I do not see him rattling off MVP after MVP in the near future. But, could be wrong there. But those are my biggest loser and MVP. Who wants to go next? Riley, you up?
Yeah, I'll go.
Cool.
So my MVP this week was Lamar Jackson, going for 250 total yards, 4 total touchdowns.
LJ.
Their offense scored the most points this week against an on-fire Texans team. Go.
Can I say shout out to that defense for holding an on-fire Texas offense to 0 offensive touchdowns?
Yeah.
Only 3 points.
Insane.
3 points.
And even before the game, I had the Texans winning it. Simply because I got caught up in the rest versus rust that
absolutely
follows these 1 seeds every year. But and then for my biggest loser, I have the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
It seemed as though the stars had aligned. They caught fire. The AFC was at the weakest with all these quarterback injuries that we're going to see in the near future. Even KC was having a down year, and they still fell short. I'm not at all placing all the blame on Josh Allen. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns dropped and a catch that would have got them into field goal range late dropped.
I don't count that as a drop on Diggs. Diggs is running full speed down the field with a cornerback draped over him.
That's a drop.
If anything, it should have been PI.
That was a perfect pass, and I'm a Josh Allen hater. That was a perfect pass. He put it in his breadbasket and dropped it. Cornerback
Diggs was running full speed, jumped as high as he could.
What else is he supposed to do? You're an NFL receiver. You run full speed. If you can't catch the ball,
and not only are you an
saying it wasn't a good pass. I'm not saying it wasn't a good pass.
Wide receiver.
I don't think Diggs is top 5 anymore. He has proven to me that he's not.
I still think Josh Allen threw like an 80-yard bomb that was probably like 60 yards. And it was
I'm not
right there.
I'm not dogging on. I think you guys are taking the wrong approach here. I'm not digging on the pass at all. I'm not saying it was a bad pass.
Yeah, I know, but you're saying it wasn't. You wouldn't count it as a dropped pass on Diggs, and you would have counted it as PI. But it was a dropped pass because it was perfect. It was a perfect pass.
But he was getting held by the defensive back.
He was not getting held.
He was definitely getting held.
He still should have made that catch, though.
But back to what I was.
Continue.
I think this is the worst possible scenario for the Bills because they didn't do bad enough where any serious changes are going to be made, and they're in the same position short of the Super Bowl as they have been the last 4 years.
Yeah,
and I think it's fair to start asking, like, should McDermott go? I have never been high on him.
We'll get more into that later. Hold that thought. Let's let somebody else go. I got more on that later.
I'll rest what I was saying there if Dalt wants to go next.
Dalt, you want to go ahead and
got it? Yeah. I'll be quick about it. MVP, Patrick Mahomes, man. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
That was just a really, really good look. Although, they did really well, and it also coincides with my biggest L, Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass took an L, bro. That was just a bad kick.
Yeah. Can I add something on that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I was watching a clip of Tom Compton, the old tackle for the Titans. He's got a podcast now. And
you mean Will Compton?
Yeah, Will Compton. Yeah. But he was saying in the broadcast before he went to go make that kick, the flags on the goalposts weren't moving. And then when he kicked it, it took a huge hook right. Like maybe he couldn't read the wind because the flags on the poles were still. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just what they were saying. I haven't gone back and looked at the clip, but
yeah.
He missed it pretty wide right, and they were on the right hash mark. So, he definitely should have accounted and gone.
He pushed it. He
should have gone. He should have gone more left.
Yeah.
But yeah, just with that game, you know what I mean. You never want to take away from a good offense and a win, but Tyler Bass makes that field goal, possibly going into overtime. Although you never know with Patrick Mahomes. I was really kind of hoping for an overtime game because that would have been really crazy to go double overtime games like back-to-back seasons in the playoffs would be crazy.
Insane, yep.
Yeah.
But, is what it is, and the Chiefs came away with a win. Shout out Travis Kelce. Shout out Chris Jones, Pacheco. I mean, they all just did really, really well, and that's about all I got.
Pacheco out here running. I fucking love that.
So here I'm also my MVP of the week is also a loser. They did not win this week, but it's the Green Bay Packers. The reason why I'm saying that they're my MVP of the week is because going into the playoffs, you had the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys as the clear-cut favorites to win to go to the NFC Championship and win.
Yeah.
With the Cowboys and Eagles obviously getting eliminated in the first, we thought that this was the Niners have this in the bag. The Packers made it pretty freaking close, dude. They were
very
up.
Close game.
They were up 21-14 going into the fourth quarter. They played their hearts out in San Francisco. They played a great game. I see a bright, and I know y'all are not going to be happy with me saying this, but I see a bright future with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers.
Why would I hate that?
Future season, not you. I'm talking about Riley.
All I'm gonna say there is Jordan Love looked good for the majority of the playoffs, and
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, he played out of his ever-loving mind.
Yep.
He did not show that against good teams, at all during the season. Now, he did it in the playoffs, so that's what matters, right? Like, that's what matters. But that's the exception to how Jordan Love played. And for a majority of the beginning of the season, he looked like a potential, like, maybe we sit this guy type situation. So I don't know. I'm not saying that he's a bust that he's Hall of Famer, but it's still very much up in the air for me. I don't think.
How did the Packers and Jordan Love look against the Vikings and the Bears in the regular season this year?
The first
he looked
game,
like a Hall of Famer against the Bears.
The first game,
a lot of teams probably did against the Bears this year. No offense.
The first game against the Vikings, the first game against Minnesota, we fucking dominated him until Kirk went down. It was 24-3 in the third quarter, and then Kirk went down. Momentum shifted. You know how football is. Stuff like that happens. The second game against Minnesota, we looked like dog shit, dude. I mean, he made us look like a fucking fourth grade peewee squad. So
I also think that's a scenario where it's like, hey, this is Jordan Love's first full season. Like, he's going to be a little rough throughout the season.
That is also something I wanted to ask. When we are grading Jordan Love, are we grading him as a fourth-year quarterback, or are we grading him as a first-time starter?
I think I'm grading him as a first-time starter here.
I'm grading him as I would grade a potential backup quarterback. So similar to how I would grade a Baker Mayfield. Right? Okay. Like prior to this season, Baker had starting experience, Jordan didn't, but they both had NFL levels of experience. They'd both played in NFL games. They both had sat and been in the meeting rooms and been on the game day, been watching tape with professional coaches. They've had every tool professionally that they could possibly have to get as good as they have. Jordan Love just didn't have the playing experience. And I think him and Baker, season-wise, perform very similarly. And I think they're very similar quarterbacks. I don't know if that's crazy. That's crazy, but I think they could be looked at.
I have not watched enough
grade quarterback.
I have not watched enough Jordan Love film to really make an indictment on him yet. I'll reserve any judgment for when I can watch some more.
We got a lot of off-season coming up. We got a lot of time.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll do a film breakdown one day.
So my biggest losers, there's two, and they're both on the same team, and one of them's going to kind of like I'm going to end on it because I want to talk about that one for a second, but it actually is Baker. I know it sucks, but if you take away his 2 interceptions, dude, the Bucs probably win that game.
Okay,
and
hold on.
And
the first interception was in no way, shape, or form his fault. The second one, completely on him. The first one,
I don't think he's saying it's his fault.
I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm just saying if it doesn't happen,
well, but how is he supposed to prevent his wide receiver dropping the football?
You can't.
Exactly. Like
you can't.
I think the NFL needs to make a separate category: tipped passes and interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Or tipped catches.
That's still not my biggest loser.
Okay, continue.
I'm just saying that I hate that Baker turned the ball over twice, and I mean, granted, if that didn't happen, Bucs probably win this game.
Yeah,
it also sucks because I watched the whole first half. Like, it was awesome. I was watching the Bucs
if the referees don't move the fucking Lions down the field left and right, and then turn a blind eye every time the Detroit Lions have a foul, then the Bucs probably win that game.
I'll get that too. I have a comment on one of the calls that they made. But I mean, I watched them several times move the ball right down the field, and then they get right there close to field goal range, and then just stop 3 and out, or some stupid penalty pops up on them, like a holding call or a false start or a delay of game, just something. Yeah. And then they move back, and it just kills their whole drive. So that was kind of rough to watch because I was obviously cheering for the Bucs here. I've been cheering for Baker all year. Also, if you're talking about refs, I am going to bring up that pass interference on the 2-point conversion. That was ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
I don't know. Like, I'm sitting there watching it, and I turn over and I look at the guy that I'm sitting in the bar with, and I'm like, how was that not pass interference? Like, the corner, I don't know who the corner was. I don't remember his name, but never turned around, looked at the ball, ran right into the receiver.
He turned around and tried to look for the ball, but after he had already fully run into Mike Evans and pushed Mike Evans far enough back where Mike Evans was coming through the receiver, and the broadcasters on the broadcast are like, well, that's kind of Mike Evans' fault. He had a golden ticket to get PI there, and he didn't try to fight back through the contact at all. Like, what are you talking about?
He tried to.
He shouldn't have to fight through the contact.
But
the
he
dude is
did, though.
him.
He did, though. He tried to reach around him and catch the ball, so he tried to fight it.
But even then, like, he shouldn't have to fight through the contact to get a PI call. He got interfered with directly by he almost caught the ball on the dude's back. Like, it can't get any more. You can't be any more interfered with.
The only argument I could see is like, oh well, Baker did not throw a great pass there. So
but
it
would have hit Mike Evans in the dick if he was standing still. Like, it would have hit him dead on. Like it.
But you have to
now back-to-back Lions games in the playoffs where in the last 2 minutes there was a really questionable call.
Yeah. Now my other biggest loser.
I'm not saying they made it this far because of that. I'm just saying. Now
my other biggest loser is the head coach. I can't think of his fucking name right now.
Todd Bowles.
Yes. So I was at the bar, obviously, sitting with my coworker, my other assistant manager, and I looked at him whenever the Lions took that last knee, and I was like, Bucks need to call timeout. And I'm literally screaming, timeout, timeout, timeout. And I'm like, wait, what the fuck? The game's over? Like, the Bucks still have a timeout. And then I immediately talked to Brenner like maybe a few minutes later, and I was like, dude, did you guys not see that? Like, why didn't the Bucks use their timeout? And then Brenner was like, oh, like, I tried to explain it, and I was like, no, dude, like, I feel like I'm not crazy. And then I started seeing other people post it as well on social media, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. Like, it makes sense. So here's the scenario that happened. The Lions kneeled way too quick on third down. So it's third down. They kneel 37, 36.
So they kneeled it at 37. There were still 14 seconds left on the play clock when they took a third down kneel to turn it to fourth down.
Exactly. You call timeout there, and now it's fourth down. So that gives the Lions three options. Either they kneel again, which I don't see that happening. That's probably the least likely thing there.
If they kneel again, then it's a turnover on
downs. It's a turnover on – exactly. I don't see that happening. Then it's either they kick a field goal or they punt the ball. So realistically, they could kick a field goal, make the game untouchable, but it's a 47-yarder that they're about to kick. I understand if that's what
if the Buffalo game proved anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's a 44-yard field goal that Tyler Bass missed. And I mean, it's a fucking playoff game. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna call a timeout and risk him losing it. I mean, if he misses it, you come out looking like a hero because now you got the ball near midfield with 33 seconds left.
I told the guys before we got on air. I told them like I would, if I'm Detroit, I punt the ball there. I don't even kick the field goal. I just punt it, pin them deep, pin them at their own 25 with a touchback. Don't give them a chance for a return. You know, you're at whatever. If you take the knee when you're supposed to at 22 seconds, you're now at 16 seconds with the Bucks having no timeouts, ball at their 25-yard line. Now the Bucks have to get a touchdown from 75 yards away with no timeouts. Like that's. But
I'm just saying
not very likely.
It looks like that he gave up.
Yeah,
it's the playoffs, dude. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
Yeah,
you have to risk it. If you actually want a chance to possibly tie this game, take the chance.
I mean, super low percentage chance, and I didn't even realize it was there. To be honest, in real time, I'm like, oh, like even the announcer said that's the ball. Detroit's moving on. Like I got an update on my phone immediately when that interception happened. NFC Championship game. Detroit Lions at San Francisco 49ers. Like immediately after that interception happened, I'm like, oh, that's game. That must be it. So I was kind of blown away. I was like, okay, fine. That's the game. And then Spoon, props to him, pointed out, hey, why didn't they use that timeout? And I'm like, well, the game was over. It wouldn't have made a difference. And then we broke it down and I'm like, oh, they could have taken that last knee with 22 seconds. Bucks could have called a timeout. I mean, that makes no sense.
We've seen crazier.
Call for it.
That's true.
Seriously.
Well, I'm just saying, I know that Brenner's seen crazier things happen with the Minneapolis Miracle. Why not give it a fucking chance, dude? Just give it a shot. See what happens, you know? Like, I just think that I just think that that's a poor decision from the head coach there. I think that is probably the worst decision, the worst.
I've never seen a divisional round game have a last-second touchdown with like 9 seconds left. That doesn't ring any bells at all.
Exactly.
Never
but
seen that.
I just think out of all the things I've seen like this past weekend, that was by far the worst thing I've seen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
Like hands down, biggest loser of the week right there. So
I agree. Well, with that, we're going to move on to a little intermediate segment that I wanted to talk about today.
Okay.
And it kind of stemmed off of the Buffalo Bills and their situation and what's going on. I want to talk about Josh Allen. Now, we know on the show, and if you've been listening this season, our own Riley is a very big Josh Allen stan. He will take a bullet for that dude. I'm kind of questioning Josh Allen's eligibility for the elite quarterback tier. I am.
Wow.
Hear me out, okay? Josh Allen has had the number 1 overall defense since 2021. Like, of all the seasons, if you took every defense and put them together for every team, the Bills have the best overall defense in that time span. So, overall, nobody has had a better defense than Josh Allen over the past few seasons. Okay, going all the way back to 2021. In 2019, he played at Houston in the playoffs. He lost. In 2020, at Kansas City, he lost. 21, at Kansas City again, he lost. 2022 versus Cincinnati, home game for the Bills, he lost. Then you get 23. Now you have Kansas City coming to your place. As Riley said earlier, stars are aligning here. You're hot. You're on fire. Your defense is playing good. Everything's going your way. You lost. And I know Riley said earlier he doesn't place the blame on Josh Allen, or all of the blame on Josh Allen for this. Okay. The Bills had a chance to score a touchdown on their final 3 drives, and each time they failed. They had 3 drives in which they had an opportunity to go win the game towards the end of the game, and they failed each and every time. Okay?
Yeah,
and
the score was 27-24 for a long time.
Yeah. So they had plenty of Josh Allen had multiple fourth quarter chances to go down and win the game. Right? His defense did their job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It came down to one play for me. Josh Allen had one, and like, to be elite quarterback, right? That one play matters to be considered elite, in my opinion. Yeah, those big moments. And he can be elite in the regular season, but if we're talking about him as a total, there's one play. It was the incomplete pass. It was on 2nd and 10, right before the drive of the Tyler Bass missed field goal. Okay, 2nd and 10. Josh Allen is standing in the pocket. He has Diggs running wide open, 7 yards deep on 2nd and 10. Wide open. Diggs gets 20 more yards and they're, down at the 10-yard line. Easy, no question about it. Instead, Josh Allen tries to throw a pass to the end zone to Shakir, okay? And instead of setting his feet, planting, and driving the ball to his receiver, he just tries to strong arm it in there. He just tries to force it in there with his arm. And he gets bumped at the last second, and it throws the throw off. Like, to be an elite level quarterback, you have to do everything right. And he didn't do everything right there. He missed a wide open read underneath, which happens. I'm not saying that's the condemning factor here, but he also didn't use good technique on the play. If he changes his technique, plants his feet, drives off his back leg, he could get smacked in the face and he completes that pass.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, to be an elite level quarterback, you have to make that play. And I know it's a nuancy, nitpicky, I agree, it is that. But to be elite, you have to pass the nitpick, like, you have to pass that test. And in playoff games, okay, that he's in these playoff games I listed, right? Josh Allen averages 61% completion percentage. That's pretty low. He does go for a total of about 336 yards a game. That's rushing and passing. So that's well above average. He's doing his part getting yards. He averages 2 touchdowns and 2 turnovers with a quarterback rating of 88.08. So I bring up all those stats just to show you guys the stats. The important one is the quarterback rating, because that's kind of the accumulation of all those stats put into a number, right? So that 88.08 would rank lower than the following quarterbacks from 2023, their entire seasons: Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Jake Browning, Russell Wilson and Derek Carr. All of those guys over the season, so over a multitude of games, minimum like 6 to 8 games, right, for some of those guys. All of them performed better than playoff Josh Allen. And to be considered elite, you cannot have those names do better in the regular season than you do in the playoffs. I get it. There's more pressure. The defenses, they tighten down. Everything's harder. And I'm not trying to say Josh Allen isn't a top 5 quarterback, because he is. But when it comes playoff time and push comes to shove, he doesn't show up. He has in a few games. Like there was the 14-second game, right? Like this is his biggest asterisk in my book. The 14-second Kansas City game. You guys remember that?
13 seconds.
Yeah. 13-second Kansas City game, right? So in that game, he had 72% completion percentage, 397 total yards, 4 touchdowns, and a fumble. So, like, he played out of his fucking mind that game, and his defense got shit on. So, you know, it's not been his fault every time, but overall, he had that good of a game, and his quarterback rating for the playoffs is still, for that game, it was a 136, and his average is still an 88. Like, that just doesn't cut it for me. I mean, here's his defensive rankings, his team's defensive rank since he came into the NFL.
Bet. I was actually trying to look that up.
So I have it right here.
I appreciate it.
So in 2018, they were the 18 ranked defense, and they were not very good. Not Josh Allen's fault. In 2019,
hold on, Josh Allen was not Josh Allen now
until his third year. Until he got Diggs. When he got Diggs, he kind of turned it on. Brian Daboll kind of helped him turn over a new leaf. I totally agree. His second season, when they lost at Houston in the playoffs, they did make the playoffs. He had the number 2 overall defense. Now, his third season, when we agree he kind of turned it on, okay, the dude had the 16th ranked defense. That's when he lost at Kansas City the first time. I think that was more of our offense is scoring a lot quicker now. Our defense is out there a lot longer. They didn't really adjust that season. So, you know, Josh Allen did his part that year. I won't front there. But here's where it gets interesting. The past 3 years, 2021, number 1 overall defense. 2022, number 2 overall defense. And 2023, in a year where I think we can all agree defenses are playing a lot better, so it's hard to be a top-tier defense right now because defenses are playing at a higher level. They have the number 4 overall defense. So he's had 3 top 5 defenses in the past 3 years and 4 in the past 5 years.
Yeah, but his top defense just gave up 27 to the Chiefs. And I mean, the Bills did play a better defense this last week.
I'm not saying
I think 27 is the lowest they've held them in their last 3 playoff meetings. Like that overtime game, I think it was in the 30s.
I'm not trying to stand here.
It was in the 30s.
I'm not trying to stand here and say Josh Allen's a piece of shit. Josh Allen's terrible. What I'm saying is the playoffs have removed him for me from the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson conversation. Those two, I think, have been the best 2 quarterbacks in the league. I think Josh Allen is on the Justin Herbert level. If you give Justin Herbert this Buffalo Bills team, I think he performs just as well. Right now,
do you think if you gave Lamar Jackson this Buffalo team with this offense?
Oh my God, dude, they would be unstoppable. If you gave Lamar Jackson Stephon Diggs, now, granted, I just said Stephon Diggs is no longer a top 5 wide receiver. I believe he's still top 10. Okay, so grain of salt there. If you gave Lamar Jackson a bona fide top 10 receiver with 2 good tight ends and a run game, it's a ball game. I think they maybe lose 2 games.
I mean, you're still, man, you've been doing this all season, Brenner. You are still throwing the rest of the Ravens offense away like they're nothing. Like, please stop. They are literally like scoring so many points per game, and you're like, oh, he needs a top 10 receiver. It's like, oh my God.
No,
get
over
it.
You're gonna
that stuff.
Brenner, you're gonna kill me for this, but I think Lamar Jackson is a lot more of a system guy than you are.
Lamar Jackson
Baltimore has a very specific system
Lamar
for
Jackson
Lamar Jackson.
System. I agree. He's a very specific system guy. He is the system. You plug him in and let him do his thing, and you will win ball games.
And Josh Allen is the same way.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. In fact, I earlier today took it upon myself to look up the similarities between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in my, I was, making this sheet about Josh Allen. I was looking at a lot of negatives. So I was like, okay, who's somebody similar? Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go compare the two. And they compare very similarly, right? They're very similar play styles. And the one thing I will say is Josh Allen takes it upon himself to play hero ball a lot more than Lamar does now, like Lamar did earlier in his career. And Josh Allen still does that, whereas Lamar is a little more accurate of a passer now. He's kind of changed up his passing mechanics, and he's a little more accurate as a pure pocket passer. And he actually had a...
Hold on. How can you... What did Lamar pass for this season?
Like 30... just under 3,700 yards, 3,600 yards.
How can you say someone is becoming a more pure passer? If
I didn't say that. I said I think he's a more accurate passer than he was earlier in his career. I'm saying when he's standing in the pocket and delivering a pass down the field, I think right now he is more accurate with that than he was in 2019. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
His offensive line is also giving him a shit ton of time to throw the ball because he has one of the best offensive lines in football. So I mean, Lamar does.
I would heavily recommend a tape session because they do not give him time. He makes time. It's very akin to what Aaron Rodgers used to do with Green Bay. He would sit. He has great pocket. Aaron Rodgers, great pocket awareness and knew when to get out. Very similar to Tony Romo back in the day. Tony Romo had amazing without his pocket presence, Tony Romo wouldn't have been in the NFL 2 years. And Lamar has always had that ticking clock in his head of, okay, I need to get out of here. But he's done a good job of prolonging it just a bit to try to find the pass. And then he gets out. And the thing Lamar's doing different this year than he has in previous years is he's scrambling to throw the ball instead of throwing the ball to scramble, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to everybody?
I mean, the only quarterback that has more pocket time this year that's a starting quarterback is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
That's the only one that has more pocket time than he does. I mean, they're doing their job.
I kind of see what Brenner is saying about how, and even me and Brenner will go about this. I think that time is so high because of Justin Fields, not because of the offensive line. But
I'm not going to sit here and say... I'm gonna finish it with this. The similarities between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are very similar to me. They're very similar players. They have very similar. You don't agree?
I don't. I mean, Lamar. How many years has Lamar Jackson been in the league? 6.
One more than Allen.
I'll give him the credit though. He has dealt with some injuries the last couple seasons.
So one more year than Allen.
And that is true. But he's only thrown for 25 passing touchdowns twice.
Yeah, but that's the system, right? They don't ask him. He's capable of throwing 40 passing touchdowns. He's done it. They don't ask him to throw the ball. They ask him to run the ball.
I just think I know you're going more advanced with all these Josh Allen stats, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at Josh Allen versus Mahomes, I see something similar to like Brady versus Phillip Rivers. And I think it kind of sucks because, for instance, Tom Brady was obviously the GOAT. I feel like he should be all of our GOATs right now.
Yeah, he is the GOAT. If he's not, we need to have a serious discussion.
And I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about Phillip Rivers, but I was always high on Phillip Rivers. I thought he was a great quarterback.
Yeah, he was a great
quarterback. One of the probably, I wouldn't say top 10, maybe top 15 all time.
I would say top 15 to top 20 all time for sure.
Okay.
The Super Bowl so very similar to that. He doesn't have the playoff success to elevate him to that next tier, and that's where Josh Allen is.
Yeah, Josh Allen. That's where I kind of agree with you. I think that's where Josh Allen comes in.
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
If Josh Allen was drafted to the Chiefs and Mahomes was on the Bills, would there be any difference in how either team has played out?
Yes. They're different. They're different quarterbacks. I feel like.
But
Patrick,
I feel
to
if you gave Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, and Andy Reid, I think he is just the player that Mahomes is.
I disagree with that.
My
I think
only
Patrick is
issue-
more of like he's good at improvising. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
let's take what's that one play that happened between him and Kelsey. I can't, I'm kind of talking out of my ass a bit, but if you remember, there was a play where Travis just kind of went and did his thing on his own, and Patrick recognized that, and then they connected. Even so,
It's the chemistry on the improvising for me with Patrick Mahomes, where Josh Allen's great improvising himself, and he can create a play, but Patrick Mahomes can make others better around him.
And
Josh Allen does not make Stephon Diggs better.
I love watching
Josh Allen does not make Dalton Kincaid better.
In recent times, has Stephon Diggs not made Josh Allen worse?
No, he made him better. Josh Allen did not turn into Josh Allen until he got.
No, I'm talking this last stretch of games. I mean, Josh Allen.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that.
It's definitely unfortunate that the Bills were missing their second wide receiver.
Yeah, Gabe Davis
as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think that kind of hurt the Bills a little bit there, but I also I think the Bills are there. Personally, I think they are right there. I think they're just. It's honestly, and I hate to say this on the pod, but I think it's just unlucky.
Hey,
it's very unlucky that Tyler Bass missed that field goal.
You just triggered Kyle, our buddy Kyle, somewhere. Kyle just got triggered.
I think they're there. They're right there with the Chiefs. Every single game, they're right there with them. I don't think.
But
I know
whenever it's the most important times, Josh Allen doesn't deliver. That's my point. He's an elite level quarterback that doesn't deliver in clutch scenarios. So, in my opinion, he does not get to be an elite quarterback. If you're not going to deliver,
he did miss a wide open Shakir in the end zone. I agree with that one. He should have made that pass.
He should have. And honest to God, I don't fault him for missing it because of the way he threw it. The way he threw it all arm. Like he was standing straight up and just armed it. And because he got knocked off his spot, that's going to affect that. If he plants his feet and drives off that back leg, he nails that touchdown, Buffalo. But here's the more vital part of that. You are trying to keep Patrick Mahomes from getting the football back, but you need a touchdown. And I don't blame him for taking the touchdown, but you have a wide open Diggs streaking for 20 yards downfield to run more time off the clock. I'm hitting that guy.
So where do the Bills go from here? Do they just run it back? Do they make any big decisions?
They can't run it back. They owe Josh Allen almost $50 million next year.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the Josh Allen curse? Did you see that stat about the teams to beat Josh Allen in the playoffs? What they did the following game?
No.
Since 2019. Yes, every team since 2019. So
it's
in 2019,
the
Texans beat the Bills. Next game, they lost to KC, 51-31. The Chiefs beat the Bills in the, and then they went on to lose to Tampa Bay, 31-9. Chiefs beat the Bills and in 2021, and then they went on to lose against Cincinnati, 27-24 overtime, and then the Bengals last year lost to KC 23-20, and then the Chiefs just this year beat the Bills, and we'll see how they go against the Ravens.
Do I smell a
bet?
I
mean, it is also the Ravens. You know what I mean?
That's akin to the Cousins curse. That's the Cousins curse is the only thing that scares me about the Niners-Lions NFC Championship game. No team that has ever lost to Kirk Cousins in the regular season in his 10 years in the NFL has ever went on to make the Super Bowl. And the 49ers got beat by Kirk Cousins this season.
You know what I say? I say we move on to our picks. Let's give them our picks.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's make our picks. I think it's time to move on.
I could agree with that. So we'll start off with Kansas City at Baltimore. Kansas City has hosted the 5 previous AFC Championship games. Baltimore, on the other hand, is 10-3 against winning teams this season. 1/3. Oh, sorry. Got ahead of myself. So there's a stat about Baltimore. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. Baltimore is one of 3 teams to have ever done the following. Okay. Have 25 points per game on average, lead the league in offensive rushing yards per game, and lead the league in total defense points scored wise. Can you name the 2 other teams to have ever done these 3 things?
I could not tell you.
Mm-mm.
One of them is the 1985 Chicago Bears.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I did see that stat.
The
I think
other team was the undefeated Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins, yep.
So that's really impressive. Major storyline here. Top 2 defenses, 2-time MVP Mahomes, likely to be 2 times MVP Lamar Jackson, both going at it this weekend in Patrick Mahomes' second ever road game. Patrick Mahomes is undefeated on the road in the playoffs for those of you keeping track at home. 1-0. So I'll let Riley start this off with his pick. Riley, who you picking?
Man, this is tough, but I'm gonna go with KC. These are 2 really good quarterbacks going up against 2 really good defenses, but I think the Chiefs' offense will be able to outscore Baltimore's offense.
You think Kansas City can put up points on a defense that just held a red hot Texans to no touchdowns?
Yes.
All right. Dalton, who you got?
Ravens. I love the Chiefs, man, and you know they were in the division that I was looking at most all year, but I would be terrified. Any player of any position on any team should be terrified to play Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
I agree. All right, Lane.
So I see this game as being a low-scoring game, obviously. I mean, you got 2 top-tier defenses going head-to-head.
Yeah.
I just think that Lamar Jackson and this Baltimore offense is going to be too much. I have the Ravens winning. And I have them winning comfortably.
Ooh.
So, all right. So we got Brenner, Lane, and Dalton all going with the Baltimore Ravens. And we have Riley sticking his neck out there going with Kansas City and
That's
the
right.
defending MVP and Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes. All right. So I would like to say, before we move off this, one quick thing about the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody, we're talking about Josh Allen and his defensive. Patrick Mahomes has had the same number of top 10 defenses in his past 5 or in his first 7 seasons as Tom Brady had in his first 7 seasons. And everybody talks about those early Patriots. Brady just got carried by the defense. And to a degree, he did. But he doesn't win those Super Bowls without those great defenses. And now, while Patrick Mahomes has had a 10th and an 8th and a 6th and a 4th defense, and this year they're 1, and they're not overall as good, he still has had really good defenses backing him. And I don't think we would be talking about Patrick Mahomes the way we talk about him if not for those great defenses behind him. With that, we'll move on. Anybody got any other statements on the AFC Championship game?
Nah.
All right. So next I would like to say we have the 1 versus 3 seeds in both conferences. We have the number 1 San Francisco 49ers going against the number 2 Detroit Lions. The Lions have 0 wins against teams with 10 or more wins this season. It's a big deal. They are 5-4 against winning teams in total, 1-3 on the road. San Francisco is 6-1 at home versus winning teams. Only loss, Baltimore Ravens. I do think the Lions defense has been a big letdown in big games this year. Like the Seahawks game, their first home opener. They got beat at home by the Hawks in overtime. The Ravens game certainly was a big deal. I mean, I think they put up 3 points total in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Detroit Lions are 1-2 as underdogs this season. Only time they won as an underdog was against Kansas City week 1. So
barely squeaked it.
Barely. So you have the number 2 rushing defense versus Christian McCaffrey. You have the number 27 passing defense versus Purdy. And in my opinion, I'm going to say this. Of the 3 remaining defenses right now, I think that they are the 3rd best defense, and it's really close to being the 4th. I think Detroit's defense has played better than they have all season in the playoffs. And I think the Niners defense looks like the mid-season Niners defense, not the early or late season Niners defense right now. And for that reason, I'm taking the Detroit Lions to upset the San Francisco 49ers and proceed to their first ever Super Bowl. I have doubted Detroit all postseason. I thought they were a surefire to be out round 1. I really thought Baker could do it last week, and he almost did. I think they're just streaking. I think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl. I'm taking Detroit.
Cool.
Riley?
Yeah, I'm nowhere near on board with you. I'm gonna go with the Niners. I think Purdy can outplay Jared Goff. The Niners defense let up a lot of yards to Aaron Jones last week, and it does make me nervous with the Ravens, or not the Ravens, the Lions running back
Jamar Gibbs right now. Jamar Gibbs playing out of his fucking mind right now.
But I don't at all trust Jared Goff to perform well against this Niners defense.
Okay. Dalt?
I against my own devices, I was going to pick the 49ers, but you lit a fire in me, Bren. I think I'm going to take the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions in this. Just because everybody loves the Cinderella story, and you know me, man, I'm always for the underdog whenever I can be. So I'm going to take the Lions. I want to see him go to the Super Bowl.
Lane?
So realistically, both of these teams very well could have lost last week. They both snuck out with the win. I know that the script is showing Ravens-Niners in the Super Bowl. Everybody sees that. But I am going to
But the Cousins curse is real.
Yeah, well, that I know. But I'm saying that I don't really trust how Brock Purdy's been playing the last few games.
That's where I'm at with it.
That's where I'm coming at. And Detroit wins outright. I got Detroit winning this game.
Oh, wow. So I'm
Brenner
man on both.
Yep. Brenner and Dalton did not persuade me. I was already planning on picking Detroit. I got to have one upset win this weekend, and that's my upset weekend, or my upset pick. I think Detroit wins.
So I said this. I don't know if you guys remember. We have a group chat, us at Wide Eye Sports. I sent in the group chat a couple last week. I sent who the winner of the Lions-Bucks game will upset the Niners and go on to the Super Bowl. And the Niners came out and performed exactly as I thought they would. They looked sloppy. Brock Purdy does not look like the Brock Purdy that was in an MVP candidacy, and he hasn't for a while. I do not see this Niners team. They're going to need they might not have Debo. That's huge. Okay. They're going to need McCaffrey to put on a 250-yard clinic with 3 touchdowns. That defense is going to have to play amazing because they're a middle-of-the-pack passing defense, guys. They ranked 14th in passing yards allowed this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown can eat this weekend. Sam Laporta can eat this weekend. Okay? Jared Goff has shown me no reason not to trust him so far in the playoffs. I absolutely hate that I could see the Lions win a Super Bowl before the Vikings. That eats me alive. Okay.
My whole
be
reasoning
miserable on Super Bowl Sunday if that happens.
My whole reasoning with Brock Purdy here is also like, since that Ravens game where he played awful, one of the worst outings he's ever probably had as a starter.
Yeah.
He's only played in 2 games since then. One of them was against the Redskins, I said the Redskins, the Commanders. Where it was tied 13-10 in the first half. He struggled the offense struggled to move the ball that whole first half. Did not look good. And then since that Washington game, he's only played against the Packers. And he did not have, he didn't make any mistakes. He threw for 250 yards, but it's like he still wasn't very accurate as a quarterback.
He just hasn't looked good.
Yeah.
And so that brings me to my main point of this whole scenario. The reason I am taking Detroit is for 2 reasons. One, Ben Johnson is an absolute master. I've said this before about Matt LaFleur. Okay, when Matt LaFleur came to Green Bay, he revitalized Aaron Rodgers' career. Aaron Rodgers does not win 2 more MVPs if LaFleur does not come in there and make him elite again. Okay. LaFleur made Aaron Rodgers great again. LOL. But LaFleur for a few seasons there was the best offensive play caller in the NFL. No question about it. He knew exactly what his team did well, and he used them perfectly. And right now, that's Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is the best offensive guy in the league. Dan Campbell came in, and they asked him to fix that defense. And I know I said they're playing better, but they're playing better. They were like a 20th overall defense. Now they're playing like a 15th overall defense. That defense is not fixed. That defense is their weakness, and that offense is their strength. Dan Campbell doesn't run the offense, doesn't call plays for the offense. He leaves that to Ben Johnson because he trusts Ben to do the right thing and to run it the way he wants it run. And Ben does it perfectly. All right. On the flip side, you have one of the best play callers of the past decade in Kyle Shanahan, but he has one vital weakness, and that is big game scenarios. He does not perform well when the pressure hits him hardest. And after last week, Detroit's got a hype train, and it's coming full fucking speed. And that's a lot of pressure to be at home, not playing well, and stop a full freight train coming at you. Kyle Shanahan doesn't deliver in the big moments, and I don't think he delivers this weekend. I think that the Detroit Lions play against the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl, and the Baltimore Ravens win the Super Bowl. I'm changing my Super Bowl prediction. It has been the same since October. The 2 weeks before, I know it seems weird to change, but I'm going Detroit, Baltimore.
I'm cool with it.
Me too.
All right.
You guys got a lot of faith in the Lions, man.
Hey, they made it this far.
When you say it that way, it makes it sound weird. Don't say that ever again. I don't like it. I don't like the way that sounds ever. Okay. I don't want the Lions to win, but I feel as trying to be as unbiased as possible. They're the better team right now. It pains me to say.
Oh.
But all right. Does anybody have any closing remarks on the NFC Championship game? Anybody want to say anything? No? All right.
Nope.
All right. Cousins curse is going to be real. No team to lose to Kirk Cousins ever played in the Super Bowl. So with that, I'm going to move to one final closing comment here, or comments. I want to go over the head coaching vacancies and filled positions just kind of in the NFL right now. So the Falcons still have a head coaching job open, as do the Carolina Panthers. Carolina did hire an in-house guy named Dan Morgan. I think it was an absolute bumble of a decision to hire an in-house guy in maybe one of the worst organizations there's been in the past decade.
I mean, they just keep fucking that organization.
Yeah, I think that was just dumb. The Bears hired Shane Waldron from the Seahawks. I think that's a very lateral move, in my opinion. I don't see that as a huge upgrade. But, hey, I could be totally wrong there. He did do good with Geno as his quarterback, so he'd probably do good with Justin Fields. Similar talent level there, arm-wise, in my opinion. Obviously, Fields is way better with his legs, but, we'll see. The Browns still have their offensive coordinator spot open. The Jags hired Ryan Nielsen from Atlanta. The Raiders, obviously, everybody knows they hired Tom Telesco, the Chargers GM, and they have finalized Antonio Pierce as their head coach.
They interviewed Getsy for the OC spot.
Dumb. So the Chargers still have a head coaching and GM vacancy. The New Orleans Saints have an OC opening. The Giants have a defensive coordinator spot open. Philly has both coordinator spots still open. Seattle has a head coaching and down vacancy. Tennessee has hired Brian Calhoun from Cincinnati, their offensive coordinator, as their new head coach. And Washington hired Adam Peters, the 49ers assistant vice president up until this season, to be their new GM and find them a new head coach. And that would be everybody who either has a head coach, coordinator, or GM vacancy in the NFL right now. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to this week Anything they're excited?
I just want to ask, where do you guys see Bill Belichick going? Do you think he even goes somewhere?
Atlanta.
You think he goes to Atlanta?
If he goes anywhere, it'll be Atlanta.
I can see that.
Why do you say that?
They're a defensive. They're a defensive team.
He'd want to get to the Chargers job.
They have a lot of talent on defense, and Bill's a defensive guy. Bill does not want to have to go in Los Angeles.
I think that would be a better fit for him than the Falcons, but go ahead.
I would disagree with that. I think the Chargers have very little talent on defense right now, other than Derwin James. They're going to lose Khalil Mack to free agency, most likely. Bosa's a great talent. Not debating that, but they don't have great corners. They don't have great linebackers. They don't have great D tackles. They're lacking a lot of areas. Atlanta, they're ready. They had a top 5 defense for most of the season. Now they kind of slacked off at the end, and their defensive coordinator got fired because of it, but they have a lot of talent on that defense. They have really good running back in Bijan Robinson. They have a really good run blocking offensive line. They have some young wide receiver weapons, and it just screams Bill Belichick with the quarterback uncertainty. I think that
how can you say that when the only quarterback Bill has
No. I'm not saying
of Brady. Mac Jones was not a home run.
Hold on. I'm not saying that Bill Belichick's good. I'm saying it's a very Bill Belichick situation. Okay. I'm just saying he's very familiar with this situation. He has experience in it versus the Chargers. The Chargers are a 3 to 4 year fix versus the Falcons could be competitive next season with Bill Belichick as the head coach. Now, I think the Chargers can be, hear me out, offensively, the Chargers need to be run by somebody with an offensive mind who can utilize the offense to its max capacity. I think they need to get a right tackle in there with Slater, have a dominant tackle duo, have a top 10 quarterback. They have the weapons at wide receiver, get a new running back in there or re-sign Eckler, either or, and that offense can be elite. I think Bill Belichick would come in there and completely ignore the offensive side of the football and give it to a coordinator and have to focus on fixing the defense, which I think will take longer than a coordinator fixing the offense in Atlanta and Bill Belichick running the defense. If Bill Belichick's in Atlanta next season, they're a top 5 defense next season right away. If he's in LA next season, they're a top 15 defense right away.
I just think with his defensive mind, I see him going to Atlanta as well. I just think the Chargers are a better fit, and the reason why is because he doesn't really have to go in and change much on the Falcons' defense. He doesn't really have to do much. They're already basically there.
Yeah, exactly.
But that offense is, I mean, I know they have a good running back. They have a pretty good tight end, but they have a decent wide receiver one. But they have a
lot of talent.
I see the same thing. I see it being identical to what's going on in New England right now.
Yeah.
I don't trust Desmond Ridder at all. So, but I think if he goes to the Chargers, that offense is basically, like you said, it's already sound. It's there. Why not put a defensive mind coach to help out that defense a little bit? Because I mean, it's Bill Belichick's scheme. You could basically, I promise you, that Chargers defense, he comes in next year, top half of the league.
Yeah, like I said, top 15. Like I said, they'd be a top 15 defense.
And that's really all you need when you have an offense this high powered.
But I don't trust Bill to get the offense right. He has to hand it off to a coordinator. So basically what I'm saying is either way, the offense isn't going to be in prime position, whichever team he goes to. I don't think they're going to be run as efficiently as they could be. But in one situation, he has a top 5 defense, and in the other, he has a top 15 defense. If you have a struggling offense, you want the top 5 defense. And that's why I think he's a better fit in Atlanta. And that's why I think he'll go to Atlanta. He would be the Cowboys head coach if Mike McCarthy didn't Jerry in the back room 5 minutes after that game.
Stupid.
I don't hate it. I don't hate keeping Mike McCarthy, man. I really don't. I don't know if I touched on this last week, but the continuity is something that I like. The locker room likes him. Dak likes him. So
the fans don't like him.
Okay, well the fans aren't playing. The fans aren't playing. Nobody that's a fan.
We're all watching our team get eliminated in the first round.
Okay, well, he's done better than
he's
done better than Jason Garrett did in his whole tenure of being a coach. So, I'm not mad at it. If I wanted to get rid of anybody, I would say get rid of Dan Quinn. He was the main problem for the Cowboys in that we were getting our freaking butts just handed to us by the other offenses. They were just scoring all kinds of points, and Dan Quinn was completely unable to adjust. I do not – and a lot of those games, aside from the 49ers game, we kept it decently close, and scoring wasn't really a problem. It was keeping the other team from scoring, which was the problem.
I don't hate the take on Dan Quinn. I don't like him either.
I don't.
Is Dan Quinn leaving? Is he going to get
he'll probably get a defensive coordinator job or a head coaching job.
No news on that yet, but he has taken
most
a lot
likely
of interviews.
Taking a lot of interviews.
The Seattle job.
No, so not so breaking news, but insider information. According to Seattle fans, the majority of the Seattle fans I talk to right now all want Mike Vrabel, and I do not understand it. I say Dan Quinn, like, oh God, no, Dan Quinn. Why would we want Dan Quinn? We want Mike Vrabel. Like, Mike, 2 times in his tenure, I think he was there for 8 seasons in Tennessee. Twice he had a top 10 defense. He's touted as his defensive guru, and he had 2 top 10 defenses. Not 2 top 5s, 2 top 10ers. So every other year, he was a middle-of-the-pack defense. And now, granted, he won that division a lot, but you had the post-Andrew Luck Colts. You had the Jags for the majority, which weren't very good. You had the Deshaun Watson Texans for like 1 season when he was head coach. So there was no real competition there. They had a ground and pound, play defense mentality, and when they played good teams in the playoffs every year, they got shit on because they weren't a good team. They were a hard-nosed team. They were a tough, gritty team. But they
were the Lions?
They were a diet version of the Lions, yes. So I just don't believe that I don't see Mike as the right guy to take over a team, especially if you're getting rid of Pete Carroll. You're basically hiring Pete Carroll Jr. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But with that, does anybody have any closing remarks they'd like to get out? Anything for next weekend?
I'll end on this. The Cowboys offense didn't score a single point until 2 seconds left in the first half. Thank you, Mike McCarthy.
Thank you, Mike McCarthy. All right, everybody.
We'll
be back next weekend or next week. We will be having our.
Hang on. I'm not gonna let him do me. I'm not gonna let him.
All right, we'll get it off your chest. Fucking kiss
Go ahead,
each other.
hurry, do it.
Hey, yeah, it might have taken him a long time to score, but it was still 32 to 40. What was it? 48. I think
40. I don't remember. They did put up points, and they made it competitive in the end. I think it ended up being a 2-score ball game, but it was not a very good game. With that, just a little heads up for everybody, we will be doing our MVP and full season awards next week in the post-championship week and the Pro Bowl week. So until then, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all the great stuff down below, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.